Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fight against fascism. Now, today I'm having to talk about something which I actually think is quite depressing that I even need to address, which is this question. Do you need to be white to be English? Now, my opinion is a very clear and obvious no. But why am I even talking about this? Well, I was listening to an ex-football legend, Stan Collymore, on LBC a couple of days ago, and he said this.
So I'm this very ultra proud Englishman. I'm a really proud Englishman. I'm proud of Cannock. I'm proud of Staffordshire. I'm proud of England. I'm proud of so many different aspects. But I also feel very uncomfortable in my own skin at the moment.
Now, I think it's a great shame that he feels this way, but I could relate to a lot of what he was saying as well, in the sense that he's a proud Englishman. I mean, he'd gone as far as to represent England at the job that he did, playing as an international footballer, and the idea that he would then have people turn around and say to him, well, but you're not really English, are you? I can imagine that would be something that would really stick in his craw. And I think there are a lot of people that feel like that. I certainly feel like that. It's not something someone has said to me personally out in the real world, but I see it online all of the time. And since I'm here in this online space, let's address this head on. So let's start with the arguments that certain people make, the so-called ethno-nationalists. But they will come out and say stuff like, well, in order to be English, you've got to be white. Doesn't mean we're racist. Of course, we're not racist. But, at the end of the day, you can't go and live in Japan, can you, as a white person and claim to be Japanese. Even if your parents went there, they were two white parents and they had a white kid doesn't become Japanese magically because of the fact that he's been born in Japan. As if sort of being part of a nation is some kind of magical transformational process, as opposed to what it actually is, which is a recognition of the fact that you have a legal right and status in a particular country. Okay, so that's the first thing then, is that we need to sort out, what are we talking about when we're talking about being English or Japanese or whatever your nationality is? Now, are we talking about how you would be recognized? Because certainly I would be recognized around the world as being English, as being from England. If I was any good at sports, then I would be eligible to play for the English national team, whether it be football, whether it be rugby, cricket. And of course, there are many prominent black and non-white footballers, cricketers, rugby players, etc., who have represented England on the international stage. So it's a bit of a weird thing, isn't it, to start saying, okay, forget the Rio Ferdinands, forget the Stan Collymores and all the others that have played for England on a national level. They were never really English anyway. Okay, well, something weird was going on then. You might want to contact FIFA about that. But yeah, that's one thing. But let me move on and have a look at this argument that's made about Japan, because for some reason it's always Japan. I guess the fact that in Japan they've historically, compared to other countries, had very low levels of immigration. So in that sense, their society looks a lot more homogenous than, say, the United Kingdom or France or South Africa or, the many other multi-ethnic nations that exist, or multiracial nations, to be very specific. I spent some time living in South America. There's so much diversity of colour there. Now, the idea that there would be a specific colour associated with being a Brazilian. I mean, think of the Brazilian people that you would have seen. Again, I'll stick with football because it's a term of reference that I'm familiar with. But you've got Ronaldinho, fairly dark, but not as dark as Pele. And then you've got Ronaldo, the number 9 as opposed to number 7, who was Portuguese, very much more light-skinned. And then you've got other players like Dunga, who is, very light-skinned, who would pass as white. I'm not sure exactly as to his racial background. So there are plenty of countries out there that are multiracial, where your identity isn't linked in any way to your race when it comes to your nationality and how you would describe yourself. And even in Japan, it is very much possible to be white and Japanese. And we can see that here, can't we? Yeah, I mean, this is the AI chatbots giving me a response. But the point is, we can see that the idea that you can only be a particular nationality or identify with a nationality because you have a specific race is something that just isn't true. Certainly not objectively. Whilst we're at it, actually, let's have a quick look at the definition of English. Okay, so it tells us here then, so English refers to the people native to the region of England, forming an ethnic group with a shared language, history and culture that originated with the Anglo-Saxons. Okay, so it originated with the Anglo-Saxons, but that doesn't mean you have to trace your ancestry back to the Anglo-Saxons in order to be English. Are you native to the region of England? Well, being born in England would make you native, surely. So we've got that box ticked. Forming an ethnic group. Well, this is what is interesting, right? Because ethnicity and race are not the same thing. And we're going to have a look at that later. But when we're talking about ethnic groups, there are a number of things we can talk about. We talk about language, we can talk about where you were born, we can talk about the system of education that you had. There are many things that can determine an ethnicity. And then when it comes to history, well, there we are. That is where you can start debating, well, how far back do you go? But anyone who's born here has a pretty relevant history in this country. If I talk about my case, I've got ancestry that goes back many, many generations, but I don't think you need to be talking about going back many, many generations before calling yourself English, okay? And look, there is going to be subjectivity around this, and this is a major point, and this is what I want us to be discussing, because if we look now then at the difference between race and ethnicity, we can see here, race is a social construct that groups people by perceived physical traits like skin colour, or hair texture. Okay, so that's your race. While ethnicity is a broader cultural identity based on shared heritage, language, history, and customs. Okay, so, we can sort of debate, can't we? Like, to what extent do we talk about English heritage? I mean, I've been to a number of English heritage sites recently. I like to visit National Trust properties as well. I've learned about our history going back to William the Conqueror and beyond that, the Roman Empire and, the kings and queens that existed within a particular space. So this is what I was brought up with. This is what I learnt about. This is the context into which I was socialized into the world. So this is a part of my heritage. This is a part of my culture. And the customs. What are the customs? Things like being polite, liking tea, having a penchant for fish and chips, perhaps. I remember, I said before that I've lived abroad. I remember when I lived in China, and for the first time in my life, I was in an area where there were no other English people. And the thing that really surprised me were the people around me telling me, my word, you're so English. And I was like, oh, wow. I'd never really thought about it before because I'd always been in England. But being around people who weren't English, there was clearly something that I was exhibiting that was Englishness. And it's clearly something that goes beyond skin colour, at least for the vast majority of us. Okay, so let's look at the ethno-nationalist argument a little bit longer, and let's look at some of the problems with it. So if you are the sort of person who said, no, you've got to be white in order to be English, and you've got to have, a history going all the way back to, pre-William the Conqueror, perhaps, the Celts, the Cheddar Man, whoever you want to talk about. So how would you know? Because if you saw a white person who was, let's say, born in Poland, but came to England, learned really good English, sounded like a native, how would you know that their DNA didn't go back even one generation? Are you going to do a DNA test on everybody in order to find out, are they English enough? And if you're of mixed heritage, like myself, what happens then? Like, why is my heritage any more Caribbean, which is on my father's side, than it is English, which is on my mother's side? Do I basically have to just sort of cut myself in two? So, half of me is in each part, or do I just orbit somewhere in space because of the fact that, I have dual heritage? Seems a bit strange, doesn't it? No one can really agree on how far you should go back. Is it one generation? Is it two generations? Is it 50? Is it 5,000? It all starts to get very silly. And what it's really all about, of course, is it's prejudice. It's racism. It's wanting to exclude people from having a sense of identity within this country because you just want everybody to be white. That's what it really comes down to. Let's just call it for what it is. There's no point in, messing around, is there? So it's interesting. There are a number of people who agree with my position, and some of them you might be quite surprised about. So one is Richard Tice.
A wider question. It's about where reform comes from. There's been a debate on the right of British politics about ethno-nationalism. Some have even raised the matter of whether Rishi Sunak, for example, can be regarded as English. Can he, in your view?
Yes, Rishi Sunak was born in the United Kingdom and is a fantastic citizen, a fantastic example. And, I just think that is, I think that's just the wrong way to look at this debate.
So very clearly, he says, doesn't he? Rishi Sunak is English, he's the best of what England has to represent. I may not completely agree with that. Doesn't really share my politics. But there you go. That is the guy who is, the second man in line to reform, who, a lot of people on the right are strongly gravitating towards. But you know what? I'm going to surprise you even more, because there's another person who agrees with me, and his name is Tommy Robinson.
Am I English?
I don't know.
I was born in England.
Yeah.
Dad's English.
You're English then?
Is that it?
I'd say so, wouldn't you?
So there are some people who would say no, because my grandparents were all born in England.
Yeah.
And parents, but my great-grandparents sort of Poland. I don't even know.
Yeah, but at which point do they stop at that, the people who say no? How far do they go back? What are you going to have someone born here to say, like they're saying you're not English, and then you have children, they have children, they have children, they have children, they have children, we're 300 years down the line, are they not then English?
Well, I agree with you. That's probably one of the most interesting things about you, is I think people see you as the kind of example of some sort of ethno-nationalist.
I don't believe in ethno-nationalism.
Yeah, and it's like people don't realise.
I always used to argue, and my argument during the English Defence League days is, are you telling me Ian Wright's not English? I love Ian Wright, yeah? And then people say, well, no, he can't be ethnically English. I say, okay, the ethnically English, but are we going to encourage people? So Ian Wright's here, he loves England. I've got mates, most of my mates who are not white, have all got England tattoos. They love England, served in the Royal Marines, born in England, parents born in England. They're English.
Now, I never thought I would make a video where I'd be sharing the views of Tommy Robinson, to be quite honest with you. But the fact is that if you are an ethno-nationalist, you're basically even further right than Tommy Robinson. I would say that makes you very, very extreme. So, does anyone disagree with this position? I mean, there's this guy called Konstantin Kisin, who is Russian, so guess what? He doesn't get to have an opinion on it. But of course, look, in England, we have a range of opinions, a range of perspectives, and if you really, really, really insist that you can only be English if you're white, well, look, you have a right to that belief. But what you don't have is a right to impose that belief on everybody else. Okay, so I'm saying it, I'm saying it loud, I'm saying it proud, I'm English. This is my heritage, this is my culture, this is where I was born, this is where I was brought up, and I will proudly claim England as my own. And I want everyone else who is black and brown, who is watching this, who feels the same way, I want you to proudly claim England as your own as well, because you were born in this country, you've contributed to this country, you've paid your taxes, you went through the education system, you have been a citizen within this country. This is a part of your identity. Not every black and brown person wants to claim England in that way. And again, like I say, it's a free country. People can feel the way that they feel, people can make the decisions that they want to make. But there are plenty of people like Stan Collymore, like myself, like many others, Ian Wright as well, I'm sure feels very similarly, a proud Englishman who played for the national football team, who Tommy Robinson loves. We claim England, and no one is going to take it away from us. So, thank you very much, guys, for watching this video. Never, ever forget, if England is in here, it doesn't matter what's on here. We're all in this together. And you know what? If you disagree, I don't really care. Take care, everyone.